Paddy Pimblett has finally spoken publicly about the aftermath of his recent defeat, and while many fans were focused on the visible bruising across his face, Pimblett made it clear that the real issue worrying him is the damage done to his eyes rather than any general injuries from the fight. 1 week after suffering a unanimous decision loss to Justin Gaethje in their interim lightweight title clash, Pimblett provided a detailed update on his recovery and did not hide his frustration about what bothered him the most. Although most of the swelling and discoloration on his face has already faded, Pimblett revealed that his eyes absorbed the worst punishment during the bout. He explained that they were left swollen, irritated, and extremely uncomfortable in the days following the fight. According to him, he believes the irritation was caused by repeated eye pokes that may have scratched his cornea. As a precaution, Pimblett went to the hospital for medical scans to rule out any serious damage. The results came back clean, confirming that there were no fractures or structural injuries, only lingering bruising and irritation around the eyes. Despite the discomfort, Pimblett immediately shut down any rumors suggesting he would need a long break from competition. He emphasized that he's already returned to lifting weights and plans to resume training at the gym without delay. In his own words, there is no chance he will sit out for the remainder of the year, and he expects to fight again sometime this summer. Addressing the dramatic reactions online, Pimblett clarified that the photos circulating after the event showed his face at its absolute worst. Those images, he explained, were taken the very next day when his eyes were at their most swollen and inflamed. A week later, he says the majority of the damage is already healed. Looking ahead, Pimblett did not rule out the idea of a rematch with Gaethje. He admitted that there were moments during the fight that continued to bother him, and said he would welcome another opportunity if the timing works out. He even mentioned that he hopes Gaethje defeats Ilia Topuria in their upcoming unification bout, which could potentially open the door for another clash in the future. Although the loss ended Pimblett's undefeated run in the UFC, he remains determined to stay active, maintain momentum, and remain a major figure in the lightweight division rather than slipping into the background. At the same time, Khabib Nurmagomedov has outlined what he believes is the next major step for Umar Nurmagomedov, revealing a clear and potentially explosive path forward in the bantamweight division. Speaking after cornering his cousin to a dominant unanimous decision victory over former flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo at UFC 324, Khabib broke down both the performance and what lies ahead. According to Khabib, the fight was far more difficult to finish than it may have looked from the outside. He described Figueiredo as a tough, an experienced former champion who fought cautiously and avoided dangerous exchanges. Instead of taking risks, Figueiredo focused on survival, which limited Umar's chances of securing a finish despite maintaining constant pressure and control throughout the contest. Khabib admitted that while the performance was dominant, it lacked excitement and felt unusually safe compared to Umar's typical fights. Umar himself echoed that assessment, calling it one of the least enjoyable fights of his career because of the lack of exchanges. Fans inside the arena shared similar feelings, with some expressing frustration and even booing during portions of the bout. Still, Khabib stressed that the result itself was what truly mattered. The victory officially places Umar among the top 4 contenders in the bantamweight division, and may have secured him a future title opportunity. Khabib explained that Umar's next matchup depends entirely on how the UFC handles the championship picture. If the current champion defends the belt against Merab Dvalishvili, Umar is expected to face the winner of that fight. However, in the near future, Khabib revealed that Umar is lined up to fight Sean O'Malley, a matchup that would generate massive fan interest and star power. No matter which direction the UFC chooses, Khabib made it clear that Umar is now firmly positioned at the top of the division, with elite wins, undefeated momentum, and championship implications surrounding his next appearance. Meanwhile, Ilia Topuria has added more fuel to speculation surrounding a potential super fight with Islam Makhachev after revealing that he recently had a phone conversation with Khabib Nurmagomedov. According to Khabib, Topuria personally reached out and asked him to speak with UFC President Dana White about making the matchup happen. Since retiring from competition, Khabib has remained heavily involved in the sport through coaching, public appearances, and sponsorship commitments, particularly across the Middle East and Dagestan. During their conversation, Khabib also invited Topuria to visit Dagestan, highlighting a respectful and open dialogue between the two despite recent public tension. While attending an event in Dagestan this week, Khabib was questioned about the rumored Topuria versus Makhachev fight and confirmed that the phone call did take place. He shared limited details, but acknowledged the growing buzz around a potential clash between two of the most dominant champions in the UFC today. The exact motivation behind the call remains unclear, but the context is well known. Weeks earlier, Topuria made several aggressive comments directed at members of Khabib's team. In response, Khabib jokingly said he would speak to Topuria directly. According to Khabib, the conversation was not confrontational at all, and was instead based on mutual respect and light-hearted banter. Given the close cultural and geographic ties between Dagestan and Georgia, fighters from both regions have long shared a relationship that blends rivalry with camaraderie. While public trash talk is common in the build-up to major fights, behind the scenes there is often professionalism and understanding. As speculation continues to grow, the revelation of this phone call has only increased interest in what could become one of the biggest matchups in modern MMA history. Alex Volkanovski has also made it clear that he has no interest in taking easy fights as he continues his reign in the featherweight division. After successfully defending his title against Diego Lopez, Volkanovski explained that if he were given a choice for his next opponent, he would rather face Movsar Evloev instead of Lerone Murphy. In his view, Evloev represents the type of challenge that defines the current era of the division. Volkanovski pointed out that Evloev, as wrestling heavy, grappling-based approach has become increasingly dominant across the UFC. Instead of trying to avoid that style, he believes it is something that must be confronted head-on. He emphasized that he is motivated by difficult stylistic matchups and meaningful storylines, not by protecting his record or choosing opponents that seem more favorable on paper. For Volkanovski, the goal is to continue proving himself against the most dangerous contenders available. Daniel Cormier echoed those sentiments and praised Volkanovski as the greatest featherweight of all time. Cormier referenced Volkanovski's 8th victory in a UFC title fight, and highlighted that several of those wins came against Max Holloway, while others were against fighters widely considered among the best in the history of the division. According to Cormier, very few champions are eager to face risky opponents like Evloev or Murphy, but Volkanovski's willingness to take on those challenges further strengthens his legacy as a true champion. Volkanovski also reassured fans that retirement is not something he is thinking about at this stage. He explained that he still feels driven, competitive, and capable of performing at the highest level. His focus remains on facing the toughest contenders and continuing to test himself against elite competition. When asked about a possible matchup between Evloev and Murphy, Volkanovski acknowledged that both fighters remain undefeated in the UFC and present difficult challenges. However, he suggested that if the two were to fight, he believes Evloev would likely come out on top, which could set the stage for a future title bout. Volkanovski also addressed rumors about a potential move up to lightweight. While he said he would never turn down the opportunity to fight for the lightweight title if it were offered, he made it clear that he wants to be realistic about timing and merit. For now, his main priority is continuing to defend his featherweight belt against the most dangerous challengers in the division. Paddy Pimblett later gave fans another update on the damage he suffered following UFC Tridvan Vidivort, offering a clearer picture of how his face looks 1 week after the loss. In the days immediately after the fight, photos circulated online showing the visible toll taken by Justin Gaethje during their bout. Pimblett absorbed close to 200 strikes in the unanimous decision defeat, and the aftermath was difficult to ignore. Now, a week later, Pimblett appears much closer to normal, compared to the images that initially shocked fans. In a recent YouTube video discussing the fallout from UFC Triathlon, he addressed the concerns directly and showed that most of the swelling and bruising on his face has significantly reduced. Pimblett explained that while many people believed his face had been badly damaged, the reality was far less dramatic than it appeared in those early photos. He noted that the bruising has mostly faded and emphasized that he feels physically fine overall. According to Pimblett, the only lingering issue is irritation in his eyes, which he believes was caused by fingernails scratching them during the fight. Despite that discomfort, he brushed it off as part of the sport and said it is nothing he cannot manage. Reflecting on the bout, Pimblett joked that he had promised before the fight to change his opponent's face, but for a few days afterward, it was his own face that looked completely different. He admitted that his eyes were heavily swollen immediately following the contest, but stressed that the condition improved quickly. At this point, he believes he may have suffered a minor corneal scratch, but nothing serious or long-lasting. Looking toward the future, Pimblett made it clear that he would welcome a rematch if the opportunity presents itself. He acknowledged that there were aspects of the fight that still frustrate him, and said he would like another chance to correct them inside the cage. Encouragingly, there are no signs that he is dealing with severe or permanent eye damage. His situation appears far less concerning than the recent eye problems experienced by fellow British heavyweight Tom Aspinall. and Pimblett is expected to resume full training without major setbacks. His focus remains on staying active and returning to competition as soon as possible. Alexander Volkanovski continues to strengthen his case as one of the greatest fighters in MMA history, and following UFC 395, praise from some of the sport's most respected voices has only intensified that discussion. Both Daniel Cormier and Tom Aspinall publicly praised Volkanovski's performance, with Cormier declaring that there is no longer any doubt about who stands at the top of the featherweight division of all time. Speaking on his YouTube channel after the event, Cormier highlighted Volkanovski's mindset as a champion. He noted that most fighters actively try to avoid dangerous contenders like Movsar Evloev or Lerone Murphy. Volkanovski, however, takes the opposite approach. According to Cormier, Volkanovski is not searching for the easiest route or favorable matchups. Instead, he wants to fight the toughest opponents available and test himself against the highest level of competition. Cormier pointed to Volkanovski's 8th UFC featherweight title fight victory as a defining moment in his career. Several of those wins came against Max Holloway and Jose Aldo, fighters who were widely considered the greatest featherweights before Volkanovski's rise. While Holloway enjoyed a remarkable championship run, and Aldo once went nearly a decade without a loss, Cormier argued that Volkanovski's consistent dominance over elite competition sets him apart. In Cormier's view, Volkanovski is not only the greatest featherweight of all time, but also one of the best fighters in the world today, with no signs of slowing down. His ability to adapt, improve, and continue winning at the highest level has earned him universal respect from fellow champions and analysts alike. Cormier was not alone in that assessment. Tom Aspinall also reacted to the event on his own platform, calling Volkanovski showing his best performance yet. He admitted that describing it as vintage Volkanovski no longer feels accurate, suggesting instead that Volkanovski continues to evolve and become even better with each fight. Aspinall praised the entire card, but singled out the main event as exceptional, giving Volkanovski special recognition for delivering what he considered a truly elite performance, with dominant victories, unmatched consistency, and praise from some of the sport. As most respected figures, Volkanovski's claim as the featherweight greatest of all time is becoming increasingly difficult to challenge. His willingness to face the most dangerous contenders, combined with his continued success at the highest level, has placed him in a category few fighters ever reach.